Is well and truly underway, because that was another disappointing day for your former club.
Yeah, very disappointing. Again, too many mistakes, and it doesn't really look like a team. So when they had the opportunities at the end of the first half, didn't take those chances, and then eventually, they go 2-0 down, 3-0 down very quickly after that, and it just looks like they're giving up. Just from that moment on, it just looked like the players individually tried to do something, I don't know, just to show them in a good light, but it's, again, just so disappointing. 3-0, 4 times they've conceded 3 goals.
At home this season, and 2 of them now under Ruben Amorim. Let's have a look at the goals, Pete, because we'll start with the one I think that frustrates you the most. Another set play.
Because it's simple, you just have to do your job. You get told what your job is, you do it in practice. Zerzi, I didn't mention that at half-time, but of course he should be tighter. But Bruno's not in the right position. He should be there, either blocking the space or heading the ball if it comes in low. What he does is he goes forward and then he's out of the game. But then when you look behind Zerzi, you got all the defenders just stood there, and it's just disappointing that it happens. It's a 9 time now. 9 out of 19, no, 9 out of 20 goals conceded up until that point was on set pieces. Yeah. And it's a simple thing. I don't like to talk about back then, but if you conceded 3 goals in the season, you felt you had a problem on set pieces, because they are simple things to defend against. But very disappointing.
And the second half, they'd actually had a few opportunities, United, when Mazraoui was a little rash, to say the least, inside the penalty area.
You're being kind, Steve, saying a little rash, a little stupid. What on earth? What on earth are you doing? He's going into your players. There's 2 players waiting for him there. He's going towards the line. He's not going to score from there. You dive in. You just got to stand on your feet. You've got to usher him away. It's just a poor decision. Kluivert's got a fantastic penalty record, and he coolly slotted it away, probably watched the goalkeeper and then turned his foot into the other corner. And that was the sad thing for Manchester United nowadays is they go 1-0 down, 2-0 down. You never really think they're going to come back. It just doesn't happen. They're just not a very good team. But what Amorim's got to make sure now, that's not a wasted game. Everyone can say, oh yeah, 3-0, we lost, no points and all the rest of it. But it can't be a wasted. He'll be watching with eagle eyes and making sure that these players that are not performing, they won't put on a red shirt again. And he's got to be that brutal and that ruthless. So wasted. Yes, you might not get any points, but something will just sink in there and think, OK, that's fine. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks or 5 or 6 months. We should give credit to your former club as well. And Semenyo, who you spoke about prior to kick-off, getting another goal. Lovely move again.
So it's an amazing move. I think it just sums up Bournemouth, to be honest. And even if you take it back, it sums up Man United in terms of how they play and the commitment. Manu could have sort of got rid of it. But just a goal. And you see, Semenyo there, there's no movement really. He just sort of just backs off a little bit, just hits around a penalty spot. It's a great cross, and then just a nice clean contact and that. But they deserved it. But that man again, his numbers are good. 5 league goals, and they deserved it. They were the better team throughout. Man United just not good enough. Too easy to play against.
And Manchester United next in action on Boxing Day. They go to Molineux. Wolves away.
Scorecard so far today, still in progress at Craven Cottage. The final minute of stoppage time, goalless, Fulham Southampton. We've seen Everton 0, Chelsea 0 here on USA. Wolves winning 3-0 at Leicester in Vitor Pereira's first game in charge. And Spurs, Liverpool, the big game is still to come. So welcome into our Premier League studio with me, John Champion, Robbie Earle, Tim Howard. Gentlemen, there's our story so far today. Manchester United beaten again.
Yeah, I just look at this team and continually it's a work in progress, clearly. I don't think these players under Ruben Amorim are good enough to get to where Manchester United want to be. The leadership and the mentality piece for me is still missing. He's working on that. When you look at Xerxes as a striker getting hauled off at 55 minutes. He's obviously not doing the business because the manager doesn't want to do that. A soft penalty given away by Mazraoui. I mean, Bournemouth were good value for that 3-0 win. They played some good football. Again, with the set piece, they've conceded the most set pieces percentage-wise in the Premier League. That's simply a mentality aspect. I look at the faces after the final whistle. They're standing around dismayed. No, clap the fans and get in the dressing room because you have to work hard and you have to put in a better effort. There's nothing to be dismayed about. There's still a lot of work to do.
I mean, in a wider historical context, these are indeed strange times for Manchester United.
Yeah, for sure.
But in the narrow of the last few years, actually, these are fairly familiar scenes.
They are. You know, welcome to Manchester United. This is what it is, and Amorim has got work to do. I just quickly want to talk about Chelsea. We talked about them going to Goodison Park, Everton, a 0-0 draw. I think a good point. Yeah. It played out exactly as I thought. It was an Everton type of game. Conditions weren't great, but Enzo Maresca said his team aren't good enough to win the title. Maybe this gives evidence of the thing, but it's a great learning curve for a young team to go to Everton and tough a point out. It's a point gained rather than 2 lost.
And just briefly on Everton, new ownership watching, what will they have made of that? Their 5th 0-0 draw of the season. Yeah, we could do with a striker, we could do with some forward play, but this is where they are at the moment. Staying in the league was important. They will do that, and then hopefully brighter times ahead. OK.
Welcome back. So Manchester United trail at half-time at Old Trafford by 0-0 to Bournemouth, and I'm guessing you're a little bit frustrated with the manner in which they conceded.
Well, they've conceded 20 goals so far. 9 of them are on set pieces. And if you concede 2 or maybe 3, you know, in a season, you'll be very, very annoyed with that because it's simple things. You organise yourself around it. Can't be giving goals away like this. This is too easy. If you look at this, Bruno should be here because that gap is too big. And if he's in there and then move directly towards the goal, which he's supposed to do, follow the line in, then Housen will never get a header on that because he's in the way then. It's simple. It's too many mistakes in set pieces or on set pieces, and it's something they need to work. The thing I don't get is they have a set piece coach. They should be working on it, you know. They should be working on this. You concede that many goals, you know you have a problem. And again, it's really, really disappointing that.
Yeah, 9, as Peter says, but 5 of them now under Ruben Amorim. And only Wolves have conceded more from set plays.
And Xerxes didn't cover himself in glory either. I mean, he's quite weak for the size of him, size and strength of him. He's in there to head most of the things away at that near post. I know Bruno was in the near post position, but he's one of the better headers of the ball, so he didn't cover himself in glory either. And as Peter said, you know, it's hard enough to win these games, an open play, you know, you work hard, you cover the ground, you try to score, but when you just give goals away at set pieces, and then you don't really score many yourself. I mean, they had a couple of balls that were whizzed in. Ahmad played a couple of great balls in there, and they never had anyone on the end of it. So it's just a freebie in many ways, and you can't give freebies away in the Premier League.
The United bench were a little bit upset about the awarding of the free kick before the defending. Adam Smith, the Bournemouth player involved with Malacia, what do you think, Jay?
I mean, I think they're just picking, to be honest. I think you see it here, there's not much in it, to be honest. But then, you still got to defend the cross, the set piece, you get organised. And like Mo said, I'll echo what you said there. I think Xerxes has got to be a lot stronger. And times when if you think that you're not going to get there, make contact. Make sure whoever you're marking is not going to get a decent connection on the header. So you have to make contact and even block, but he's got to be a lot stronger than that.
Well, we looked at it so many times when we watched. And you could pick 7 players out and say, what are they doing? What are they doing? It's not just Sergio, it's not just Bruno, it's everyone, and the team got to defend as a team, and they're not. And that's a disappointing thing for me.
At the other end, have they been a little wasteful in front of goal?
Yeah, more than a little. Towards the end of the half in particular, I thought the first half an hour they were really poor, but then they started getting a few chances. One in particular, I mean, he does everything right there. He can't go for the other corner, he's got defenders about to block him, so I don't blame him for that. This, I think he does the right thing. I think going with the side of the foot for a bit of accuracy, but it's just poor, aiming. But this is the one. And as soon as this happened, me and Jermaine looked at each other and said, you need to give him the eyes and whip it into the near post. Kepa's basically guessed where he's gone. This is one of the corners that I was speaking about. I mean, he doesn't know much about that house, and does he? He scores one goal, he could have scored putting in his own net. He doesn't know much.
Marcus Rashford's situation is a huge story. Not involved in the squad again today for the home game against Bournemouth. Let's remind you what he did say in that interview earlier in the week. For me personally, I think I'm ready for a new challenge and the next steps. I know that a situation is already bad. I'm not going to make it worse. I've seen how other players have left in the past. I don't want to be that person. When I leave, I'll make a statement and it will be from me. Our understanding is the club didn't know he was going to do that interview and certainly not come out with those quotes. I mean, overall, if you were in the dressing room at the moment at United, is that unhelpful?
It's two things with him. So obviously not being involved and in the way that he's not being involved has hurt him. And he's felt the need to react and put out a statement, which I think is really ill-advised. That was not the right thing to do. But he's done that now. He's made it clear that he's prepared to leave. I think on performances, I don't think Man United fans will be too sad about that, because it's a lot of money every week that you release and you can put into the pot and sign new players. He's a player that can get some money for him. He represents some value, and it's been made very clear that there isn't a lot of money in the pot in the first place. And I think it's important that there are being brought in new players in January. 1 or 2 players, just to freshen it up, just to, add some more competition. We've seen what competition's done so far in the month that Ruben Amorim's been in. Players has actually performed better than they've done. So new players. And if you don't have any money, you have to sell players. And Marcus Rashford, he's made it a little bit easier for the club to sell him now.
I was obviously disappointed when I saw the statement. Listen, I love Marcus, and he was the one. When I got back into the England squad, he was the one that I looked at and I thought, this kid's got everything. And I'm talking about when Dele Alli, Raheem Sterling, and I thought, God, he's got everything. He can run, he's quick, he can score goals, he's got everything. But then you see the statement and you talk about who's advised him to do that. And you would like to think that he's got the right people around him. I don't think it's fair that people obviously talk about, the clothes that he wears and all that sort of stuff. But I do feel like when you're playing well, it doesn't matter, because there's been so much noise around him. But to do that, I mean, he scored 30 goals. So that's sort of like the level. When you set those sort of standards, people, they expect you, Mo knows, when you score goals, people expect you to reach those levels all the time. But if you can't reach those levels, you need to try and get near. But he just doesn't look happy. You look at his body language, his demeanour. It does look happy. Obviously, when a new manager comes in, he scored against Ipswich, he scored 2 goals against Everton, and you think, OK, then, maybe he can kick on now. But it's just not happened. Yeah,
and that 30 goals was 2 seasons ago. However, I get what Peter's saying from a business point of view. It isn't always that simple in the football business world, is it?
To get people out? No, it's not. Absolutely not. And I look and think about, right, OK, and I agree with Peter, but I'm not sure when you say, he's got a value. Of course he's got a value, but who would take him? Who would take him? I used to think someone like Paris Saint-Germain. But really?
Their model's gone a different way now, with younger players.
Exactly. Who would... He himself is going to have a lot of confidence. I'm not going to them and them and them. He'll be thinking, I want to play... If I was a top club, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy Marcus Rashford. He's done it once in all his years as a professional. Done it in terms of justifying the wage he's on. That's, £350,000 a week or whatever's reported. You want to be paying that for somebody that's scoring 25, 30 goals, and he's done that once in his career. He's getting to an age now where he's not young anymore. It's not going to be somebody, no one's going to be buying him to think, oh yeah, this is an asset for the future. He's 27. So whoever signs going to 3 or 4 year contract, then he's into his 30s and he's not an asset. So I don't know who would take him. The good thing for Manchester United, it costs them nothing. So, you're not stomaching a huge loss there.
It costs them a lot, though, to pay him, isn't it?
But they're costing them a lot, and you need to get that off your wage bill if that's the case. The interesting thing in all of this is the way that Manchester United are playing it. Amorim came out and said, we're a better team with Marcus Rashford in it. And he was praising him and he was saying he's still got a future and all this. But his actions say something else. And I just wonder whether, if he goes the other way and says, no, he's not part of my plans, then he almost pins himself, doesn't he? It's almost like, where can we go here? Yeah. With him saying that, if nobody comes in over the Christmas period, then at least he's left himself an olive branch to say, I always said that you and here's a way back in. But if he goes all out and says, no, I don't fancy him, he's going to leave, then straight away, Manchester United have, got an asset that's diminished just through Amorim's
What if he
words.
isn't? I mean, I see that play. That makes a lot of sense. But what if he isn't in his plans? What if he's already...
Well, I don't think he is.
What if he's already decided that this is not going to work? Will someone like him just sit on his money for 3.5 years? He's got 3.5 years left. See, I don't see that.
A long time.
I see that. Why would you do that?
But shorter term,
So,
what we're saying is in January, it's difficult to trade, isn't it? If you're trying to get Marcus Rashford to a club in January on that kind of wages, it's difficult to trade.
Yeah, I get that.
He'll do well to get half of his
The situation will be
wage.
the same in the summer. The principles of it will be the same in the summer. It won't make a difference to a buying club. You mentioned PSG. They are going in a different direction. It's not working very well for them in Europe, so they might just change again. So it might just be on the card. They might, because he was not available to them before, but it could be a club like that.
But I just feel like we know what players are like nowadays. Mo, you spoke about he'd be lucky to get half his wages. Players now, they're not moving. You spoke about are they willing to just stay and just sit on the wages? I think they are.
Would you think he would?
Do you think Marcus would, though, because he's the local boy, and is it reached a point where it's just better for him and the club if they?
I would like to think so. I'd like to think that he's probably thinking, you know what, now I just want to go out and play football. It's not about the money. I've earned decent money, which all players do now. I'd like to think that he's probably thinking, listen, I need to go out and play football, and even and even think that I've got something to prove now. Go out somewhere, just play football, score goals, and get back to those sort of levels that we know we can reach.
See, this is what annoys me, right? If you can say that I've got something to prove now, and then you go out and do it, that I do not understand. If you have the talent, he's been knocked back. His confidence has been knocked back. He's still. We know because he's done that in the past. We know he can do it. Settle. Do something different. Change your mind. Try and see if you can make it again, We saw as soon as Erik ten Hag left, when Ruud had the team, for 4 games, they played really well. Scored a lot of goals. Why does it need a manager to be sacked for the team to play well? Why do you need to go somewhere else to get a new challenge? Why is that challenge not to change your ways and get back to what we saw 2 years ago? That could be a challenge for him, and he would still make the money. If he's got the manager's word now.
Talking of the manager, Michael, we talked about the Ronaldo challenge Ten Hag had very early on. This is a huge situation for Ruben Amorim to deal with, whilst he's still finding out the club, the players, the system, and trying to get results.
Yeah, I think he's made his mind up, and I think he's made his mind up quite quickly. And I don't disagree with his decision if that's what it is. I do agree with Peter. I absolutely love. Every time I listen to him, I'm like, yeah, this guy is the real deal. I love what he says. I love what he's trying to do. It won't happen in a short space of time, but I do think that Manchester United have got the right man. And I actually love the way he's playing this as well. And I think he wants him out, but he's saying the right things just in case he has to keep him. But just quickly going back to what the guys say, yeah, it's all in an ideal world. We all know what is the right thing. It's the right thing for Marcus, it's the right thing for Manchester United, it's the right thing for everybody probably now for him to go. But the money he is on is astronomical. And forget half, he'll do well to get a third of that somewhere else. And when that offer comes in and it's a third of the money he's on, and he's like, I'm 27, do you know what? I think he might do what Jermaine says. There is a massive, massive argument in the Rashford household to think, well, I'm not moving if I'm only getting a third of the money, and he's guaranteed that for a long period of time. It's a massive call. It'll be fascinating to see how it plays out.
Sounds like you're giving us some insight, having been in that situation.
Never. I wish. I wish.
Well, there was reports when you were playing, and I knew that you were the highest paid player in the Premier League, but I couldn't possibly comment.